View this afternoon, we're going to talk about formations. We're going to look at some of the teams in the Champions League this season and some of the formations utilised in the Champions League also. Good afternoon, Stephen Johnson, Paul, Michael, John, and a few others that are on the chat this afternoon. So, Celtic and Brendan Rodgers do like the 4-3-3 formation. It's a formation that I think can do well. It has done as well over the last couple of seasons. You can't deny that it's done as well. But there comes a time where every club in Scotland figures out the type of formation that we do play, and we see that kind of anti-football, the five at the back, the six at the back that teams will go to try and nullify Celtic and the formation that they obviously play. Is there a way that we can get more from both in a domestic level to play more entertaining football and on the European stage? On the European stage, you have teams like Atletico Madrid and who consistently play 4-4-2. They play 4-4-2 in the Spanish league. Atletico Madrid played 4-4-2 in the Champions League. Real Madrid, managed by Carlo Ancelotti, they played a different system. They played a 4-3-1-2. So you're still getting the two strikers up front, but it's giving you the opportunity to have a little bit of a change. And I think that we've been pretty static with a 4-3-3 formation. It never serves us well in European competition under Ange Postecoglou. We can all say, yeah, it did its job this year. But the big game where Brendan Rodgers did make changes defensively, he changed away from the 4-3-3. Now my question is, can Celtic go for a 4-4-2 formation in domestic football? Do we need that? Or would we go for, say, a 3-5-2 in domestic football, but then when we go to European football, they change the formation to a 4-2-3-1 formation? Brendan Rodgers likes playing the one striker as a kind of target person in European football. Helsinki, Barcelona have played that formation over the period of this year. Barcelona have developed that formation into a fantastic work of art sometimes. Absolutely destroying teams on a domestic level. With their style of play, the fact that it can be defensive with the four at the back. You've then got the two holding midfield players. Could we use Callum McGregor? And I'm going to say it, if Brendan Rodgers does fancy getting Jeffrey Sloop in, would you play Jeffrey Sloop and Callum McGregor just sitting in front of the two in front of the defenders? It gives you that option, especially with Kieran Tierney coming back. A 4-2-3-1 formation lets you set up with a back four: Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, trustee as it stands just now until we get someone else in the summer, and then Kieran Tierney. So that gives you your back four. If we keep Jeffrey Sloop, I would put Jeffrey Sloop into that position, the two sitting in front of the midfield in a European context. You could have Callum McGregor, Jeffrey Sloop just sitting in front of the defence. It allows the full backs to batter up the pitch, help out with the midfield. It then gives you a five in midfield if need be also. You can go for three. You can have the three that Brendan Rodgers likes to have by pulling your wingers just back slightly, and then having, if it is Dyson Maeda, as it stands just now, it would be Dyson Maeda, you would have him up the front on his own. It's just a thought, and I think it's a conversation that it'll be interesting to get some of your thoughts on when you stop saying hello to each other. Dan Cassie says, hey, well, troops, other players like Ali Johnson play in the final of the Cup. CCV has to play in the middle of the park. Yep, it does that. Let me just jump through these. So tell me the ones that are live just now. John Hogg says, yes, we need a little bit of depth and players to better implement it. I think it's all about having the technical ability to go from the form. And you could actually say that Brendan Rodgers' argument would say, well, the left back as it stands this season has been leaving us a three at the back and has been going with that extra one in the midfield. So there's that would be his answer to that. You don't need Jeffrey Sloop in that position, because what you do is you bring Greg Taylor from the defence up into that middle of the park part, and that gives you the Callum McGregor and one and an other, as he would say. So whilst we all acknowledge that Brendan has changed and does change formations in mid-play, I mean, there's many times that he'll change the wingers from one side to the other. But I still think, Paul Baird, right to the end, from the start of the season to the end, this is why I love you, Paul. Right from the start of the season to the end of the season, our priority has to be dumping Greg Taylor as soon as possible. I feel Bernardo doesn't get a fair shake, says Tommy. Right, Tommy, there's an interesting one, because if we do change the formation, say you were to change it to the 4-2-3-1, right, just using the players that we have just now, you could have a midfield three of... You could have the midfield two of Paulo Bernardo and Callum McGregor. Sitting in front of them, you would have Jota, Kuhn and Arne Engels. But then where does Rio Hatate then come into it? And then you've got your Dice Maida further forward. Either way, it's trying to fit everyone that we have in the moment. And I think that the 4-2-3-1 formation can give you a high line of defence. You've got that one which basically can go into a front four at any given time. It can give you a midfield five, which means that you can do what we didn't manage to do the last couple of Glasgow derbies, is dominate the midfield, and then you've still got that one player that's up the front that's going to lead the line, with the possibility of the two wingers then overlapping, and even the fullbacks coming up and helping out as well. So I just think that at times this season, especially in games where Callum McGregor has been man-marked, I think that having the ability to change it up quite dramatically. I mean, taking Rio Hatate and Arne Engels and swapping them positions in a further forward area doesn't really work. Taking Jota and Kuhn, swapping them sides, doesn't really work. Tactically, it just the player on that side, you're still playing the exact same formation. And I just think that in a domestic level, 3-5-2 domestically, Paradise Found says, I would like to see 3-5-2 domestically and 4-4-2 in European. I don't think Brendan would go with a 4-4-2 in a European context. I think he's more likely, if he was going to change it, I think he's more chance of going for the 4-2-3-1 formation, just to give him that stability. And it's shown in games at a certain level in the Champions League, you have to have that depth in midfield, and I think playing the 4-2-3-1 would give you that depth in midfield. You could have a three and the way they could set them up, you just have three in the midfield spanning the whole width of the pitch, and then the other two would be sitting right in behind them, and then with the back four. You could play it like that, and it would be a hard formation to break down. It would be you can dominate possession, you can apply pressure, you can get the turnover, as Brendan Rodgers talks about, and you can get the turnover when the ball breaks into the midfield. You've got that five base of players in the midfield, which then you can get the one-touch passing football done quite quick. And I think that that's where we'll lack sometimes, due to the spaces. I mean, I know that Brendan Rodgers tries to narrow the pitch a lot of the time. You'll see it in some games, they'll narrow the width of the pitch, but then you've got a winger for the opposing team that will stick to the touchline, and then a quick breakaway, and it's generally the left-hand side, or it'll be the right-hand side, because they target the left-hand side. So tactically, you'll see other teams, they know that Greg Taylor's going to come into the middle of the park, so they'll target that left-back area. Celtic then squeeze up to the left, and then leave the right hand side of the pitch from the left hand side from the opponent's point of view, you've got a winger on that touchline that can just whip right round the back of Celtic. You know, quick balls like that can really hurt us at any level. Tactically, Brendan Rodgers, he is known as a fantastic tactician, but I just think that a little change would help us from being it's so obvious what we do sometimes. And this, I think that we all get, Brendan Rodgers says, the reason for the passing back to the defenders, to change the point of attack. Do you know, I've never in my life watching Celtic have we came back so often to change the point of attack. Celtic as a team would always try and soak up a bit of pressure to then counter-attack or pull the opposing team forward. We don't seem to have that ability. Brendan Rodgers would say, by bringing the ball back to the defenders, for Trusty to give it to Liam Scales and then pass it back to Scales. And then Scales then takes the ball and passes it back to the keeper. The keeper then gives it back to Trusty. He'll say that that's trying to pull the opposing team out and giving them a different point of attack. But the reality is that teams are happy just to go, right, there you go, we know what Celtic are going to do. They're going to go and pass back to the keeper. We're not going to put too much pressure on them because we know what's coming. Do you know, it's obvious what's coming next. It's a really quick 1-2 pass and then right through them. Where teams now are sitting back. They know that the style that Brendan plays. And I just think that it's a conversation that the fans need to have, because it's a good conversation to have rather than just transfer speculation and the normal shit that we talk about. So Paradise Found said, I would like to see a 3-5-2 domestically and a 4-4-2 in European football. What do you think about that? And let's do a poll. Four, two, three, one. There we go. Have your say in today's poll this afternoon. So, what formation would you play as Celtic manager if you were playing FIFA or whatever these computer games are? What formation would you pick for the team? Maybe that's something we need to do, is get that up and running. Let me just say... Lorna's jumped in with it. I'd be happy to see Greg Taylor stay at Celtic. Sorry, Paul. And then Paul's retaliated, saying he doesn't want to be at Celtic. He's going to leave, but I think it'll be... I'm going to say it, Paul. If he signs a new contract, oh my days. He signed a new contract, oh my days. What about the only time Taylor passed the ball forward? We scored. Yep, but that was Taylor in the middle of the park again, is it? Lorna's going for a 3-5-2. Stephen Gordon's going for a 4-4-2. Who would you play as your two strikers? As it stands, we've got Dies and Maida. Do we need to... Well, we obviously need to buy another striker because we sold Kyogo and we haven't replaced Kyogo. Brendan Rodgers can say all he wants about we have cover for that position, but the reality is that we never replaced Kyogo Furiashi in the last transfer window. So one of the first signings that we must make this summer has to be another striker. Now, you've then got the headache of only playing one striker up the front and having Adam Ida, Johnny Kenny and Dies and Maida in the mix as potential, and then another. So then it then asks the question, it then begs the question, is Brendan Rodgers going to go to a two up front formation or a one? What he used to do before, remember, he'd have one up front and one just behind. He never went with two up front. He went more with a sort of you could say a 4-3-1-1 formation, didn't he, when he was at Celtic the first time round? Lorna's just asking Paul, will he be having a party if Greg Taylor does leave? William has said 4-4-2. Lorna, my granddaughter said that Taylor and McCowan acted very rude as they didn't bother with the fans at the Players of the Year. Was that on the Sunday night? She said Ali Johnson and Cameron Vickers were noticed and were embarrassed. I think that, and Jim, in the defence of the players, Celtic are milking this Player of the Year award thing, selling tickets for it. A Players Player of the Year, the Players Player of the Year awards was generally only attended by players and families at a club. And that's a question, that's a whole different question. I mean, Celtic are milking the fans. Sell tickets for a dinner event to sit and watch something that was generally kept in-house. And it's just the Celtic way just now, isn't it? It's milking it for all we can. Paul Ware says he's always up for a party if Taylor I'm delighted with the season. P35 scored 103, played 35, scored 103. At times we're unplayable. I just want a stronger squad. At times we are unplayable in the domestic league, but at times, there's been far too many times. If we're looking for perfection, and if we're the dominant force in Scottish football, we should be the team that everybody looks up to how we perform, how we're tactically we're better than everyone else. And I think that over the course of the season, we've become just a little bit too obvious at times. And yes, we can be obvious for 80 minutes of a game where teams sit back and we're doing the side-to-side passing stuff that Brendan doesn't like, and then we're passing back to the keeper to change the point of attack. And then it's 0-0 with 15 minutes to go, and the team goes, right, let's have a chance. And then that's when we play our stuff and we break through them and we keep doing our thing. Brendan Rodgers will say, well, from my point of view then, the tactics work perfectly well, because you just keep on doing, keep plugging away, and you get the rewards. Now, you can't argue with that. You can't argue with it. It can be boring football. You can put that down to the other teams not really trying. Coming to Celtic Park and setting up defensively. Celtic having 70-80% possession in front of a team, whilst a team sit with 6 at the back and then 4 in front of them. You know, so anyway, if Taylor did sign, the party is over. Oh, Jesus. Danny's going for 4-4-2. He wants a 4-4-2 at Celtic. Anyway, I'm going to go for, in a domestic level, I think that Celtic should play a 3-5-2 formation. It allows us to dominate the middle of the pitch. It allows us to have the two potential wingers to go further forward. It doesn't have to be 3-5-2. It could be 3-5-1-1, which is the one in front. It doesn't have to be a striker. It can be one of your midfielders, like Arnie Engels. So say you would have, if you were playing say you're playing a 3-5-2 with the current squad, you would have Alistair Johnson, Austin Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers as your back three. You have Callum McGregor, Rio Hatate sitting in the middle of the 5. You then have on the wing, you would have Jota and Kuhn. You would have Arnie Engels a bit further forward, and you could have, I've lost count. You could have Dyson Maida and sitting just behind Big Adam Ida. There we go. That'd be a team and a half. I think so. Party in the sun. If Taylor signs, we'll need Paul B. Or I'm not going to say that. Nothing should be set in stone. Different opponents in different situations in European football. Just don't be too predictable. But that's where I think that the formation that we play, the 4-3-3, does make us a bit too predictable. If you remember back to who was it? There was a player said in the summer, just in their stages. I can't remember who it was now. There was somebody said in the Champions League that they expected more from Celtic, and they didn't get it. They expected Celtic to play better, and they expected the tactical changes to be better, and it just wasn't there. Just wasn't there at all. And that comes down to the manager and the system that he has set up for us. Let me just do this. Right, I'm going to see if there's any breaking news kicking about. Adamida. Notice Celtic did put out later today the information that Newcastle United put earlier. God, see when people say politics shouldn't enter football, you get that quite a lot on this channel. Don't talk about politics. John Swinney hands a challenge to Sevco over Union Bears as he provides a verdict on the Tifo. Oh, fuck off adverts. Fuck off. I hate websites that just come up straight with adverts. Do you know what? I mean, John Swinney's comment and said there was a banner that was unacceptable. John Swinney said these issues have to be addressed by the club themselves, but also the police if they judge it to be appropriate to do so, and the judgment fundamentally rests with the police in that respect. I don't think there was an appropriate image. I don't think it was an appropriate image, but it's for the club to reflect on that issue, to address the issues. The club, all I'm going to say, I'm going to finish up this poll in a minute. There's not a lot of people on today. What I will say about that banner had the full backing of Rangers PLC. Rangers Football Club, whatever fucking formation that they want. That banner came from inside the ground. It wasn't sneaked in. That banner would have been painted inside the ground. The club has to pass these banners off. It's the exact same with the Green Brigade. The Green Brigade, when they do their banners inside Celtic Park, they're passed off by the club. Rangers would have known exactly what the banner was going to be and going to say, and they let it go. So, do you know the irony of that? Jed Johnson says 3-5-2 like 2003 team gives us the opportunity to kick the ball out from defence, and we have 5 in midfield to pick the ball up, plus 2 strikers and more of an attacking option. Exactly, Jed Johnston. Paul Bear says, I think at least 3 first team players will be sold in the summer transfer window. Paul, there's going to be more than 3. There's going to be Gustav Lagerbielke. There's going to be Kwon, who's been at Hibs for 2 years. There's going to be what the hell? Dies Maida, if he doesn't sign a new contract, he'll be sold. Rio Hatate, that's my other one that will go this summer, I think. Gustav Lagerbielke's already said that he's going to be leaving the club. So I think there could be 5 or 6. Paul Baird says Police Scotland probably gave him a hand with the banner. Yep, exactly. Did you see the look on the policeman's face with the picture that's going around the media when Dyson come walking off the bus? You could just see the haters in their face. Scott Bain. I think Scott Bain will be allowed to go for free. I don't think they'll sell Scott Bain. Scott Bain doesn't really have a valuation, does it? Couple of $100,000. I think Celtic will do the right thing and allow Scott Bain to move on to play football. Right, I'm going to end this poll. There's 51 votes. 33%. We'll end it and we'll get it up. What time is it? It's about lousing time, as they say. Paul Baird says 3 thirsty players that are at Celtic team at the minute. Yeah. Who do you think they are then, Paul? Go and tell us. Because I think it'll be Rio Hatate, Dyson Maida and Nico Kuhn. That's my 3. That's my 3 that I think will leave this summer. Got to remember, Kaiser said that he heard that the 3 Japanese players, way before Christmas, he said that the 3 Japanese players had ever... I never saw that. Can you stick it up, mate? If I could find it again, I'll put it up. The picture of Dyson Maida as he came off the team bus. One of the tick mixes. This depends on the team players that we have coming in or out. It's going to make for some interesting chats this summer, that's for sure. I think that Brendan Rodgers will have to change something, because when Greg Taylor does leave, he's not going to have that player that comes in the inside. Now, I'm not overly concerned about that, because he never had that the first time he was at Celtic. That was an Ange Postecoglou thing. The Greg Taylor playing that position was all down to Ange Postecoglou. It was nothing to do with Brendan Rodgers. But anyway, that's another chat for another day. As a chat for another day, I am about to Rio, Kuhn and Trusty. Oh, Rio, Kuhn and Trusty. Do you think that they would sell Trusty already? I don't think so. Do you think that they're going to keep Rocky and sell Trusty? I think there's more chance of them selling Mark Narobski and then selling Trusty. We need a digger for the midfield, says Jim. I would love a 4-4-2 bars, but who knows, says Monistic Mick. And Lorna says there's lots of Mrs. Jota wannabes out there. Well, Jota's going to be kicking about, then not a lot. Over the next couple of months, he better watch himself. I'd be getting out of Scotland. Jota will get out of Scotland and he'll go and live the life in the sun for a few months to let his knee heal. Anyway, on that note, that's the Mrs. done and dusted as well. Lousing time, as she's just said. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. I'm not sure if there's going to be a live tonight at 8 o'clock. I think we may be going out for dinner. So if there's not one, I apologise in advance. But I think that somebody's getting their nails done and then we're going out for dinner. Due to the fact that, it's personal stuff. Anyway, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.